The final game of the season is here against Illinois. Northwestern has a chance to bookend the season with some wins. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Northwestern, your daily podcast on the Northwestern Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. This is Locked On Northwestern, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Carter Bird. Thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen every day. We really appreciate it. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find us. We're also on YouTube. Just search Locked On Northwestern. And you can find us there. Wherever you are listening, make sure you subscribe. Turn on notifications. You don't want to miss an episode. We're actually coming to you from our new recording software that maybe, just maybe, will not have audio issues. That's the hope. But let's jump right into it. We're going to kind of cram the Thursday podcast where we preview the opponent into the Friday podcast where we make picks. We're going to talk about Illinois. Final game of the year for Northwestern. Northwestern is 1-10, losing 10 straight games. A lot of injuries. Don't really know the health of everybody. Facing a 7-4 Illinois team with an incredible defense. Maybe the best defense Northwestern has seen all season long. They allow 258.6 yards per game, 93.4 of those coming on the ground. And they 165.3 of those are coming through the air. They have one of the best backs in America in Chase Brown. This year, he has 309 rushes for 1,582 yards, 9 touchdowns. Also adds 26 receptions, 197 yards, and 3 touchdowns there. They have a very solid quarterback in Tommy DeVito, somebody who does a pretty good job protecting the football. He's thrown for 2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Look, where is Northwestern at health-wise in this game? I mean, you saw Cam Mitchell get banged up again at the end of the last game. And then you saw the fact that Northwestern was having to start a 4th-string walk-on quarterback. Do we see Brendan Sullivan? I don't know. It certainly felt like in Fitz's presser this week, it seemed like it might be Cole Freeman. That could be wrong, absolutely, but we just don't know. You have to run in this game to be successful. Evan Hull has to have a good performance in this game, figure out a way to get him going, see if he can have one of those amazing 100-yard games that he has had this year already against a really, really good defense. That would be the ideal situation for the offense to take some pressure off the quarterback. You need guys like Malik Washington and Donnie Navarro taking on his former team. You need those guys to step up and make plays in one-on-ones on the outside for the quarterback. Can the defense show up? This is their last shot. This is senior day. Can they give you one last effort to be proud of? If they can do that, I think Northwestern can hang in the game, but I don't know where the health of this team is at. And that's what I come back to. I struggle with that. And you've got an Illinois team that still, I guess, in theory, has some stuff to play for. There are scenarios where, well, I guess they will have a better idea once the game actually kicks off. But it's a situation where they might have a chance to play for the Big Ten West Championship. It's still up in the air right now as we currently talk with each other. And so there may be a lot more motivation on the Illinois side to hang in this game. I mean, who knows? It'll be very, very interesting. I think special teams, we don't even know the health there. We don't even know if Luke Akers is out there, if Stage is out there, if Donnie Navarro is out there. I think Northwestern can hang on that end. Luke Akers has done really well punting the ball, especially when he's been healthy this year. The alternatives have not been quite as good. But yeah, I think the line is Illinois minus 14.5 in this game, according to our friends at Bet Online. We actually don't have the graphic the banner loaded over to the new software yet. We will get that done here soon. But the over-under is 38.5. I hate to say it, but I feel like I gotta kind of take Illinois minus 14.5 just because where's Northwestern at? I mean, I know the vibes after the Purdue loss were not that bad. It felt better. Some of the losses, it's felt pretty dire around the program, but 10 straight losses have to take a toll. And I know it's senior day. You may see Northwestern put up a fight initially. I don't know if they can keep it up for 4 quarters right now. I just don't. For that reason, I'm going to take Illinois minus 14.5. I'm going to take under 38.5. These are two teams I don't think will put up a ton of points. And if Northwestern can't, if they're sputtering on offense against a really, really good defense, I think it can go decently under because then you've got a lot of room to play with on the Illinois side of things. If things get out of hand, this could be a 31-10 game. This could be, it could be a 34-3 game. I mean, I think 31-10 is probably more likely. I just don't see this game going well for Northwestern after losing 10 straight. It's one of the fewer times all year that I've picked against Northwestern, and generally every time I do pick against them, they show up and show a lot of fight. So who knows? Maybe they do kind of scrap in this one and make it a really fun, close game. Who knows? We will find out on Saturday, obviously. In just a second, we're going to take a look at games around the Big Ten. But first, let's talk about our friends at Underdog. This game is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to spice up the college football season. It's easy to get started and easy to play while you're watching your favorite team. Go to Underdog to make your own picks. Sign up with promo code Locked On, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. So deposit $100 and get $100 free. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store or Google Play Store. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Locked On. Get in on the college football pick'em action today. Also, thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's look around the Big Ten here. Let's start with the game that takes place here later today. Nebraska at Iowa. By the time you may be listening to this, it may be in progress. It may be over. The line is Iowa minus 10.5, over under of 38. That's a lot of points for Iowa. And offense, it's really bad. I know it's woken up a little bit here down the stretch, but still, Iowa has a ton to play for. They can win the Big Ten West with a win. Nebraska can scrap in this, I think, absolutely. I think this is a last chance to show some fight for their interim head coach, Mickey Joseph. Give me Nebraska plus 10.5 and under 38 in this one. I think it turns into an ugly, 17-14 kind of game. And I think Iowa pulls out the win and pulls out the Big Ten West Division Championship. Next up, number 3. Oh, this is the game, the big one. The one that everybody is talking about. Number 3, Michigan at number 2, Ohio State. The line is Ohio State minus 7.5, according to our friends at BetOnline, which is where all of these lines are, by the way. Over under 55.5. Biggest game of the year. Biggest game of the year. Going to be the most talked about game all year long, and nothing can really upstage that, barring some news later today of coaching reshuffling that could happen maybe. It can go either way in my mind. I think that if Ohio State gets up quick, if they use those weapons and throw it around the yard early, I think it could be a game where Michigan's in trouble because they aren't built to chase their opponent. They aren't built to battle the whole way for 60 minutes to get back in the game to try to come back and win. Ohio State on the other side, if Michigan, if they man ball them, if they just get up there and run the daggum ball and beat them upside the head with a blunt object, I don't think Ohio State's physical enough to go man for man in that game. So Ohio State needs to jump out to a lead and make Michigan chase. Where's Blake Corum's health? That's where's the health for both running back rooms in going into this game? There's a lot of questions there. Jackson Smith and Jigba, is he healthy? Is he 100% ready to go in this one? I don't know. Ohio, but I am going to take Ohio State minus 7.5 because I think that Blake Corum's health is probably the biggest story about this game to me. So I'm taking Ohio State minus 7.5 and under 55.5 in this one. Next up, Rutgers at Maryland. Maryland is a 14-point favorite in this one, over under of 45. Maryland just fought so hard with Ohio State. Almost had a chance to pull that upset. Had the strip sack at the very end with it. Ohio State returned for a touchdown, or really caught in the end zone, a fumble. And that's how they made it a 2-score game when it wasn't a 2-score game. They can score some points now. They're a solid team. Rutgers, on the other hand, really awful, and they have not scored a lot of points all year long. For that reason, give me Maryland minus 14 and over 45. I think Rutgers can score a little bit, but Maryland can score a good amount in this game. Next up, Minnesota at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a 3-point favorite in this one. The over-under is 35.5, very low. Minnesota's still playing for something, maybe. Wisconsin, Jim Leonard, chance to go out on a high note, secure that job opening. I think everybody in the country thinks Jim Leonard is going to be the head coach at Wisconsin next season. The difference in this game for me is Mo Ibrahim is the best running back in the conference behind Blake Corum, I think. And for that reason, give me Minnesota plus 3 over 35.5. That's just going to be pretty simple there. It's going to be an ugly game. I think it's going to be an ugly game, but I think Mo Ibrahim is the difference. Purdue at Indiana. Purdue is a 10.5-point favorite in this game. The over-under is 53. Purdue is playing for a division maybe if Iowa drops this game today. And IU is really bad. And I think that's something that we've seen all year long. Purdue has some fight. I think Purdue minus 10.5 and under 53 is probably the best thing for this game, especially if Indiana struggles to kind of get points up on the board. I think it can be kind of similar to that game that we talked about earlier with Northwestern and Illinois, actually, where if Indiana fails to score a lot, Purdue has some room to put up some points. But the offense maybe hasn't been as explosive here recently, and so I think under is a pretty safe play. Michigan State at number 11, Penn State. Penn State is a 19-point favorite in this game. Over under 53.5. So many points to give in this one. Penn State's pretty consistent. They have been all year long. Their only losses have come to the two best teams in the conference by a mile. Penn State wins, but I think it's close. I think Michigan State has some things that they can do, and they can fight. Absolutely. Give me Michigan State plus 19 and under 53.5 in that one. And that is going to do it for the Big Ten. I think by what that means, I think that it'll be what we've said. I think it'll be an Ohio State-Iowa matchup in the Big Ten championship game, which will be really one-sided and ugly and not a lot of fun for Iowa. But we will talk about that probably next week sometime. In just a second here, we're going to look around the country because there's some really big games on this rivalry weekend. But first, let's talk about our friends at Upside. From cringing at the pump to getting an eye-popping, from cringing at the gas pump to getting an eye-popping check at your favorite restaurant, inflation is hitting us all where it hurts, and it really, really hurts. That's why I started using Upside. Upside is an incredible app for anyone who buys gas, groceries, or dines out. With every purchase, I'm earning cash back thanks to Upside. Upside is something that has been huge for me. So I try to save money and budget things, of course. To get started, download the free Upside app. Use my promo code LOCKED and get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. Next, claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. Check in at the business, pay as usual with a credit or debit card, and get paid. In comparison to credit card rewards or loyalty programs, you can earn 3 times more cash back with Upside. Upside users are earning more than $1 million every week. That's probably why it has a 4.8 rating on the App Store. Download the free Upside app and use promo code LOCKED to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using promo code LOCKED. Also, thank you for making Locked On Northwestern your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's jump right into it. Of course, all these lines continue to be brought to you by our friends at BetOnline around the country. We're going to start with a little ACC SEC crossover. South Carolina at number 8. Clemson's a 14.5-point favorite in this game. Over under of 53 in this one. Spencer Rattler, he's playing really good ball right now. He went nuts last week. He went for 400 plus yards and 6 passing touchdowns. Clemson's defense is really good, but their offense is really bad. South Carolina has the advantage at quarterback, and I think that is key in this matchup. For that reason, give me South Carolina plus 14.5 and over 53 in this one. Next up, another ACC SEC crossover. Number 25, Louisville at Kentucky. Kentucky's a 2.5-point favorite in this game. Over under a 43.5. Kentucky, they're leaking some oil right now. They've lost some bad games. They've played hard in some other games and lost. They lost to Georgia last week in a game they fought hard. They lost to Kentucky the week before, and then what was a what on earth is going on kind of game. Louisville has played some really sound, really solid ball recently. Scott Satterfield has taken himself firmly off the hot seat as they've continued to perform this season. For that reason, give me Louisville on the road at their rival, plus 2.5 and over 43.5 in that one. I know Kentucky's got a good defense, but I think that enough points will get put up on the board in that one. Next up, the Iron Bowl. Auburn at number 7, Alabama. Alabama's a 22-point favorite in this one, over under 50.5. This game has given us so many fun finishes, especially in recent years, including last year, which we'll talk about here in a second. Auburn has rallied this year around interim head coach Cadillac Williams. My goodness, they have looked like a different team. It's really been a tough indictment on Brian Harsin. Can Auburn get to Bryce Young? Last year, they did a really great job of that. You saw Derek Hall, Colby Wooden, all of these guys terrorize this Alabama offensive line. If they can do it again, this game could get really fun. Last year, it was a 24-22 Alabama victory in 4 overtimes. For that reason, give me Auburn plus 22 and under 50.5 in this game. I think Auburn can absolutely keep it between underneath 22 points, 3 touchdowns. Number 9, Oregon at number 21, Oregon State. The line is Oregon minus 3, over under of 59. Oregon is really, really good, but Bo Nix is banged up. It was evident last week. He freaking just gutted out a victory somehow. But this is a rivalry game. This is in Corvallis. Chainsaws, baby. Oregon State plus 3, over 59. Next up, number 5, LSU at Texas A&M. LSU is a 10-point favorite in this one. Over under a 48. Texas A&M, that offense sucks. It's really, really bad. LSU, They're playing really good ball, but it's a kind of a letdown spot because they have Georgia in the SEC championship next year, but they can't have a letdown spot. That's the thing, because they're in the playoff hunt. If they win out, if they beat Georgia in the SEC championship, they cannot afford to have a letdown spot. Plus, how's Texas A&M going to score in this game? I don't know. For that reason, give me LSU minus 10, under 48 in that one. Next up, big one out west. Number 15 Notre Dame versus at number 6 USC in the battle for the Shillelagh Trophy. The line is USC minus 4.5, over under of 64.5. USC can absolutely score with the best of them. Notre Dame's defense is awesome. The offense has not been quite as good. It's gotten better. But I don't think it's enough. Give me USC minus 4.5 and over 64.5 in that one. And let's round out with 4 quick ones here. Number 10, Tennessee at Vanderbilt. Tennessee's a 14-point favorite in this one. Over under 63.5. Tennessee has to be reeling off giving up 63 points to South Carolina. They lost their quarterback, Hendon Hooker, in that one to a torn ACL. Joe Milton is starting. Joe Milton has a cannon, but oh boy, is it inaccurate. It's like having an artillery cannon, an artillery gun shooting without any proper coordinates in the pitch black of night. You have no clue where it's going. When it hits, oh boy, it's beautiful. But when it doesn't, it can be pretty sporadic. I think Josh Heupel will make a point in this game, just like we saw a few weeks ago when they played Missouri and were throwing the ball up like 56-21 in the last 2 minutes and kept putting up points. I think it was 59, like 28 or 21 or something. They kept chucking it deep and put up 66 points. I think he does the same thing in this one. Give me Tennessee minus 14.5, over 63.5. I think Josh Heupel can be a little bit scummy when it comes to that, when games are out of reach, just running it up on teams. Kansas at number 12, Kansas State. Kansas State's an 11.5-point favorite in this game. Over under of 62. First time this game's been fun and relevant in a long time. Kansas has slowly kind of fallen off here recently. Kansas State can run the dadgum football. Kansas State is nasty. Emaw. Give me Kansas State minus 11.5, over 62. Next up, Washington. Number 13, Washington at Washington State, the Apple Cup. Washington is a 1.5-point favorite, over under of 60. Look, Penix is really, really, really fun. It's a great rivalry game. It's in Pullman. I'm sure it'll be chilly, but give me Washington minus 1.5 and over 60 in that one. Next up, kind of to cap it off, just because they're playoff relevant and I want to discuss this team. Iowa State at number 4, TCU. TCU is a 10-point favorite, over under 46. Look, Quentin Johnston and Max Duggan, I think they're going to have big games. Iowa State just doesn't have the juice to hang with them, but TCU has played down to their opponent all year long. I would hope they would be able to not do that. They would be able to kind of separate in this game. For that reason, I'm going to take TCU minus 10 and over 46 in this one. That's going to do it for the picks around the country, and that's going to do it for today's episode. We appreciate you tuning in. This has been Locked On Northwestern, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. We really appreciate it. We're available wherever you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can find us. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications wherever you listen. You don't want to miss an episode. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Carter Bird. You can follow me on social media at CarterBird13. We will be back on Monday to talk this weekend in football, and then we will eventually start talking about basketball more and more as that continues to keep going here. But yeah, I will see you all next time.